Cool. Okay, everybody. Oh, also, Tana, will you make me co-host so I can share my screen? Thank you. There we go. Yay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're enjoying today. I am in Phoenix, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm in a hotel room, so it might get kind of noisy, and that's kind of beyond my control, but we'll do the best we can. I am glad to have everybody here. I'm enjoying this 97 degrees where I'm at, so I know you guys might be a little colder today, but we're rolling with it. I'm Shantel Reitz. For those that don't know me, I'm an alignment coach, international speaker. I do all sorts of things all over the world and have just a ton of fun. And so this is one of my very favorite things to teach about is branding and storytelling. So for those, it looks like we've got a bunch of people that were not on class the last couple of weeks ago is when we kind of kicked off our branding segment here. So just we'll kind of recap. I'll try to make sure I cover some back information if there's things that I feel like you guys need that would be pertinent as we're moving through. But today we are talking about story branding and really the premise that you are your own brand. So especially in real estate, as we get going, you'll understand a little bit more about this, but this is really about branding yourself more so than anything else. And so a lot of people are starting to understand the metrics of how this works. If we look at people like Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, even Oprah, all of these people understand the importance of branding themselves even more so than their companies. I think most of us could not even mention or even remember what any of those company names are. Like sometimes we can remember Oprah because it's Harpo is Oprah backwards, but most of us don't know the other companies, and that's because these people understand the importance of branding themselves and that people buy into you as a person before they buy into you and your company. So one of the ways and the most effective ways that you can brand yourself is through storytelling and through creating your story. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So your story is being told whether you are aware of it or not, and how your brand is perceived by your audience is largely due to the story that's being told. This is done through imagery, fonts, colors, and the words that we share as we do posts and things like that on social media. So what we call our copy. All of that helps to create your story and your feel. So what we want to make sure that we're being very intentional about what we're putting out there so that our audience is receiving the feeling that we want them to have, if that makes sense. So one of the years, a couple of years ago, I was coaching with an agent that was trying to brand herself and her company. She has since moved on, but her brand that she was trying to put out there was like ongoing adventures in real estate. And she was trying to be like adventurous and show her travels and different things like that. And the message that her clients were getting was actually that she was like mom away from home and was more like she worked a lot with first-time home buyers, a lot of people doing some relocating, younger people relocating and things like that. So the message that she thought she was putting out there and what was being perceived were two very different things. Not that either is bad by any means, it's just not what she thought she was putting out there was not what was being received. So we want to start being very intentional about what we're putting out there and being very aware of what we're choosing to show as what is part of our brand. So I hope that kind of makes sense. One of the biggest things that I run into when I'm starting to work with people and getting them posting and using social media and starting to tell their story is that they really are afraid of being seen and they're afraid to have people, judgments and things like that. But we really need to be able to remove that out of our fear vision, I guess, and just really just start to dive in and not to be shy. Let people know who we are. The beautiful thing is when we choose to post and we're intentional about it, then we get to start controlling the narrative. So if we are a little bit shy about putting some things out there about our life or our person or whatever that may be, when we're intentional about it, we start to choose what gets put out there. So then we're more in control of the narrative versus people just making assumptions about us. There was another agent I was working with last week, actually, that, you know, she's like, well, the last time I tried to start posting a bunch about my lifestyle, I got people calling me and asking me for referrals on bars in the area. And that wasn't the message that I wanted to put out there. So there really is a sweet spot to it of showing like how much of it is personal versus how much is business, and being more intentional about putting some of the business stuff out there so that people do remember us for being in real estate. So just to make sure, people are naturally interested in stories. So when we have a post online, people are going to be more drawn into you if there's a story or something attached that they can dive into and connect with you. So people want to, as quickly as possible, be able to decipher who you are, what you stand for, what you bring to the table. And it will help you to bring that personal connection to your company and allow you to build better and longer standing relationships, even though it is online where we don't actually have that connection. Stories are what draw people in and create that emotional tie. So we'll talk a bit about that too. So again, like we said, you want to be very intentional with what you're putting out there, and that way your audience receives the message, right? So I've chosen these images on purpose because they're part of my brand and my colors and all of that. But if you look at these images, you very quickly get a feel for who I am as a person and what I stand for as a company, right? You'll notice that we're pretty silly. We like to do things our way. We're not too worried about what other people think. And that is all very intentional. That also goes along with the colors that I'm choosing, the fonts I'm choosing. All of that's done with intention so that you know exactly who you're dealing with before you even pick up the phone to call me, right? So one of the things that I always tease about is when you're getting images done and they're with your branding, you want to make sure that they do showcase your personality. So if you are very professional, I know Steve's on the call, so I can make fun of him, but we used to call him Suit Guy. So you can see his suit and tie picture there, because that is Steve to his core. That is just him. But if I showed up with pictures like that, it would be very inauthentic to me and my brand. So there would be a disconnect between who people actually get to know and who I am as a person versus what they would see online. So you do want to make sure that you're very intentional with the images that you choose, and the understanding that those images and the colors do tell a story. And that is part of the feeling that we want to get across when we're interacting with people. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense there. The other thing here is when we're talking about our story, nobody else has our story, right? So there we may share some different gifts or strengths, skills, that kind of thing, and that may cross over from person to person. But what makes us absolutely uniquely us is our own gifts and talents and skills coupled with our story and our history. That is what makes us unique. So being able to put that out there is going to make us relatable, right? So stories draw people in and give us the sense of connection. It's also going to help us attract our clients. So we can use stories in a specific way to draw people into us. And your brand should be all about you. People are going to buy into you as a person long before they ever buy into your company. So that you need to be able to showcase who you are so that people get a sense of that and want to interact with you. Does that make sense? Okay. Does anybody have questions about any of this so far? Are we doing okay? Cool. All right. So a couple of questions that I want you to ask yourself as you're starting out. So A, what service or product do I provide? We understand already that we're in real estate, but I want you to dive a little bit deeper. Maybe what is your niche within real estate? What is your why in real estate? Like, what is that you go above and beyond the standard agent in the market to bring to your clients, okay? This is where you can start to really dive into how you got into real estate, why you got into real estate, what you're passionate about in real estate, anything that's going to set you apart from your competition, okay? The next one is, what do I value? So in one of the previous classes, we did go over core values a bit, but I want to touch on that here since You guys did not necessarily get this from the last one, but I want you guys to kind of really dive in and think about what are some of the things that you value in life. So these are going to be your intangible things, right? Like honesty, integrity. I know those are some generic ones, but what are those things that no matter what are non-negotiable for you? Because those things are also going to be important and non-negotiable for your clients. They're going to give you points of reference and make you relatable for your clients, okay? This next one is, who is my competition? So this one, I obviously, like, there's, well, I can't even remember the last statistic I heard, something like 15,000 real estate agents in the state of Utah, like 10,000 or 11,000 just in the Wasatch Front. Obviously not all of those are your competition. We know there's a lot of inactives out there, but who else out there is doing really great things? Or maybe who else is serving your niche? Not so much so that you can copy them, but so that you are aware of what stuff is going out into the world. I also like to say that I like to advertise something that is a little bit different, right? So I use this example in one of the other classes as well. When you are marketing, try to say almost the opposite of what everyone else is saying. So an example of this would be, for those that know, I own a fitness center in Sandy. So I try to do funny things in my marketing. Things like, you know, do you hate treadmills? Do you want to throw your row machine out the window? Do you, like any of those kind of things? Because what that's going to do, first off, is let my people know if they don't like those things, that I am the place for them, right? So I'm going to be able to attract people into me. But B, I'm saying something a little bit different so that I stand out among all the other people that are just throwing around pictures of like sexy bodies lifting weights and muscles. And C, I also am letting people know if they love running on a treadmill, I'm probably not the place for them. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure that you're using these things and putting yourself out there in a little bit different way. And that helps you to showcase, coming to the next one, how am I different? What are those things that I want to showcase that are different than anyone else in the industry? And I used this example in one of the previous classes, but I want to go over it again because I think it really hits home in this aspect. But as real estate agents, if I was to go out there and just, if I was a brand new agent, or even if I wasn't, if I just were trying to bring new business in and I put a post up on social media that just says, hey, if you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell their house, please have them call me. Well, that's where you're saying basically the exact same thing as anyone else in the industry, right? Or if you say, I'm the best agent out there, have them call me, or I'm better at this than anyone else. Anytime you say best or better in anything, you are basically reiterating the same things that everyone else has said. So you want to find different ways to say things and to phrase things so that you stand out from the competition. So one of the example that I use if I was a new agent is maybe I would come in and tell a little bit of my story about, maybe my grandmother had a terrible time transitioning to senior living when it came time to sell her house. And it was just a horrific experience for her. So I vowed when I got my license that I wanted to be able to really dive in and help people in her shoes so that it was a smooth and painless transition. So if you know anyone that is looking to make this transition, that's what I'm here for, is to make this change in life just as smooth and easy as I can, as they're already going through so much. So if you know anyone looking to make this transition in life, please send them my way, right? So we're putting out a message that is a little more heartfelt, connects in with emotion, and allows us to draw people into us, if that makes sense. I'm going to stop this share for a second. I want to pull up a couple of videos for you guys that will help iterate this point. So I'm just going to pull this up here. Give me 1 second, and then I will reshare my screen. Okay, let me get back in here. Okay, I'm going to start this video here. This is an
I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. When we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. Sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right, because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal?
Awesome. Okay, so I love Simon Sinek, first of all. I think he's fantastic. I love all of his books. Everything is so amazing. I love that he ties in the why here, and especially that he uses Apple as the example. Apple is such a phenomenal example of a company. When they're connected with their why, they are so powerful. And we've been able to see over time how, when they are connected with their why, their company is like top dog. But anytime they fall away or they come away from their why, there have been even several times where they've almost kind of lost everything. So it's a really fascinating scenario to link into. But Simon just does such a great job of just talking about connecting with your why. And I think that is really such a vital importance to telling your story, and to telling your story often, because people buy into that why, they connect into that. And that why is what brings that piece of emotion to your business. And that's what creates such loyal customers. And I think it's also fascinating that he's used Apple, because I think Apple is one of those companies that is so bipolar almost. People either love Apple or they hate it. And there's not like a happy medium, right? People will like fight to the death for it, or they'll like cannot stand it at all. But it's either way, on either side of the coin, the way that they've been able to do that, even to make people have such a dislike for them or such a love for them, is because of that emotion that they've tied to their business. So being able to do that and talking about your stories sell. And there's so much truth to that. And stories sell us as a person. So being able to use pieces of your story for connection, and to use pieces of your why in your storytelling, is so, so, so important. So a couple other questions I want you guys to review. And also too, if you guys would like the slides and you want to be able to come back and review these questions, please put your email in the chat. And I am happy to send these out after class, and you can go through these at any time. I'm always happy to share my materials with you. So the first one here, what do I want to be known for? This is such a big thing that we can use to connect in. How do I want people to know me, and what do I want them to know about me? The next one, what makes me stand out? That is such a big one. What benefits do I bring to my customers? And then this last one is such a big one too. How do I want my client experience to feel? This one to me is such a deep question. I recommend this is one that you really dive into. I think that this is kind of becomes a checks and balances system for your brand, especially when you're telling stories. The words that we use and the things that we put out there are going to evoke that feeling in people. And when we are intentional about that, and we know how we want people to feel when they interact with us, then we're able to be much more clear on our messaging. I'm going to bring one other video up here that I want to share with you. Just give me 1 second to pull this up. But I think this gives a really good example of this point, like how you want people to feel in, give me 1 second, my messenger's being a little bit. There we go. Okay. This gal is a really good friend of mine. She is a mortgage person from up in northern Utah. Let me just come back in and share this screen here one more time. And she is super fun, but I think she does such a great example here of showing this feeling in a brand. So let me play this one.
Oh, hey, I'm Allison Olson, branch manager with Fairway Independent Mortgage. Let's go make the loans can be fun team.
Get your mortgages! Mortgages! They're hot mortgages! Get your mortgages! You want a mortgage? How about you?
Trevor! Gotta be a little more careful. These are my crafts. They're very special to me, you know? Alex, I'm getting so stressed out. Can you work your magic, please? updates?
Yeah, these 6 are ready and clear to close. Cool. These others, they're close, but I'm still processing them.
Isn't my team the coolest? We love what we do here. Each team member knows exactly the status of each and every loan. So if you ever have a question, you can talk to any of us. We would love to have you be part of the Loans Can Be Fun Club. Let us know if you have any questions and have an awesome day.
All right. So a couple of things that I just wanted to point out with that. She does such a great job here of really being able to identify like what her target market is and how, and that feeling that she wants people to have, as well as keeping in mind how she's different, right? Like when we look at different billboards and things like that for different mortgage companies, most of them are off, you know, that we see are talking about rates, customer service, that kind of thing. Well, she's just gone completely the opposite and really focused on how she is different and being able to tie into that, but also being able to really keep that maintaining of how she wants people to feel when they're interacting with her. So even in the title of her company, that Loans Can Be Fun, all of that is just really infused into her company, and you know exactly how she wants you to feel when you're interacting with her based on the stuff that she's putting out there. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through. The next thing I want to touch on is like how to create memorable posts. So when we're using social media or maybe our blog or our putting content out on our website or our Google page or any of these things, we just want to be able to make sure that we're doing so intentionally and that we can create that connection through our story. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to structure a post, how to put some things out there so that you're getting the best intentional message put out. So the first thing that you want to do when you're putting something out there is have something that I call the hook. So your hook is going to be that initial couple of sentences that people see on your post. So especially like Instagram, Facebook, especially if you write something pretty long, really the only thing people are going to see is that first like 2 lines of your post. And you've got to put something in that's going to make them want to open it up and read more. This also is true for emails. So when you're sending out an email, this would be like what's in that subject line. You want to make sure is something that draws people in. You are welcome to go and scroll through any of my past posts and kind of see how I structure this if you want like some real life examples, but that's the opening thing. So what is going to make somebody draw in and give them a reason to open up and want to read more? So whether that's something catchy or maybe it's something just unique that kind of draws people in, you want to give them the gist of what your post is going to be in that first couple of sentences. But again, opening up the invitation for them to read on and read more so they know what's coming in the rest of the post, okay? Then what you're going to do is open up into your story. Now, I'm not talking about your life story. This can be something just very short, a little part of your life story. What is something that you can share that's going to make you relatable, right? So you want to be able to share authentically and with emotion. So giving you an example, I was working with a client a couple of days ago, and we were mapping out who her ideal client is. And we were kind of talking about this ideal client, and she was telling me, you know, this is a business owner. She's feeling, you know, stuck right now, you know, kind of going off on that a little bit. And I said, well, tell me about this. How, like, when was the last time you felt stuck? And so she was like, oh, during COVID, I just was feeling very unconnected with people and I wasn't being able to move forward and my business was feeling stuck and all of these things. So she gave me this whole story. And I said, gosh, that sounds like an awesome post, right? So just being able to pull in that little part, how are you going to be relatable? And then you want to share the epiphany, because we never want to share and leave people on a down note and just where you would leave them in a mode of basically like you complaining about something, right? So you want to share like your epiphany or your turnaround point, and then what was the transformation you experienced? So what were the benefits that occurred as a result of that? But you want to share this always as from your point of view, right? We don't ever want to talk to someone. So being able to share from your point of view is going to allow people to place themselves where they see themselves in your story. Does that make sense? So when we talk, we want to speak from our own perspective and never to people. And you never want to say, you need to do this or you need to do that. Because when we tell someone they need to do something or they should be doing something, those words are putting someone in a state of shame. So we always want to share from our own point of view and let them find themselves in your story. Does that make sense? So when you're doing these posts, this is going to allow you to share little pieces of yourself and leave that inspiration or whatever it is that you are trying to allow people to feel by interacting with you. You're going to do this through little pieces of your story. And you always, always, always want to share from your own story, from your own perspective, from your own heart, never speaking to anyone. So I hope that makes sense. Does anybody have questions on that? Cool. Okay, perfect. So once you do that and you start sharing these pieces of yourself, this is going to help you stand out from your competition. And when people can feel themselves in your story and they can place themselves and see themselves in those pieces of your story, that's what's going to create those pieces of connection, and that's what's going to draw people to you. So you're actually attracting clients into you by telling pieces of your story and making yourself relatable. Okay, so that is really the gist of it, and I am happy to open up here for questions. My contact info is on here. And like I said, I'm free for a few minutes. We can answer questions and have open discussion about this or whatever you guys are feeling. So I'm going to stop share here. We can keep recording and that way you guys can come back for questions. We'll just kind of keep this open for a minute. So how can I help? Don't all jump at once. I mean, I know that means I did a real good job of explaining, but I know you guys have questions. Nada? Okay. All right. Well, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day.